Hello guys, Navneet here, back with another fragrance review. In today's video, we are going to talk about a fragrance which is essentially a must fragrance for people who love sweet leather-based fragrances. So sweet leather-based fragrances are fragrances which are much more refined in taste, which are leather, which do have leather notes in that, which can be raw, but at the same time they are well balanced so much so that you can wear it and it will not be that hard or that extreme on you. With that being said, I'll be introducing today's fragrance. The fragrance I'm going to talk about is Velvet Oud. Now this fragrance was one of the best selling fragrances in the year 2022, and I recently got a batch of this year. So this year they launched this fragrance again because this has been one of the best selling fragrances of the house of Lattafa. With that being said, let's explore Velvet Oud in today's video. We'll be talking about the notes of the fragrance, the scent profile it shares to various designer fragrances, and for me, I think that this is one very close fragrance to Tom Ford's Tuscan Leather. So Tuscan Leather का एक काफी अच्छा clone है दोस्तों, and if you like Tuscan based fragrances, if you like leather based fragrances, then this is the fragrance for you. And with that being said, let's see what this fragrance has to offer after this intro. So here's the overall presentation of the fragrance. I'll just show you a quick look at the box of the fragrance. So the box of the fragrance is similar to various designer and niche fragrance houses, but I think it is much more similar to Dior's own creation. So Dior is fun. Dior, any of Dior fragrances if you take, you will see the bottle is this round cylindrical bottle. Now this bottle makes it much more premium, makes it much more plush, easy to fix at the same time. So here's the box, and you can see this is Lattafa fragrances and Lattafa Perfumes. This is imported to India. This is not actually made in India, and the importer is Sharia Cosmetics. With that being said, at the bottom of the bottle you can see this fragrance is made in UAE. So this fragrance is essentially made in UAE. This is 80% volume, so this is an EDP, Oud Parfum concentration है दोस्तों, and I think that the ingredients, the basic ingredients, the QR code and all of that stuff. At the top you can see the Lattafa logo, and at the front you can see there is Velvet Oud and Lattafa. So it's written both in Arabic as well as in English for people who use it in the Middle East and across the globe. With that being said, let's see what this fragrance has to offer. So let me show you the bottle of the fragrance. Now what makes the bottle very premium, very plush is that this is actually a very heavy, well calibrated bottle. This is not a very cheap bottle you go to. It is not made of just ceramic. It has beautiful touch of metal as well. So metallic ceramic coating, and this is actually metal which you see in the bottle. With the in the top you can see this is something, the diamond shaped sort of cap. With that being said, the atomizer of the fragrance is super niche. It feels very premium. At the same time, when you push it for the very first time, it feels very premium, unlike many of the brands which have their nozzle pouring out. This does not have that very same feature, and the bottle and the cap is well calibrated. This is actually a very heavy cap. When I'm lifting it from the very first touch of the bottle, you can see this is a very heavy cap. The bottle is good enough. It's kind of a fragrance which we could expect from a luxury fragrance. At the same time, this is not at all very expensive. This actually comes for the price of 1300 only. At the front you can see the Lattafa Velvet Oud logo, again written in both English and Arabic. At the bottom you can see this is the quality mark, and this is an EDP concentration made in UAE and all sort of that stuff, and that is actually a sticker, so they haven't engraved it on the bottle. With that being said, the bottle is kind of fascinating. It actually tempts you to buy this fragrance for the very first time when you look at it. With that being said, let's talk about the scent profile of the fragrance. Looking at the scent profile of the fragrance, the first thing you notice is there is a heavy rush of leather in this fragrance. Unlike many of the leather fragrances like Lassaci has to offer, Lassaci La Yuquam is one of the fragrances which is actually a clone of Tom Ford's Tuscan Leather. Now this is the version of Tom Ford's Tuscan Leather which is sourced by Lattafa. So Lattafa has its own version of Tom Ford Tuscan Leather, and they have some inspiration from the original, but at the same time they have made the notes of raspberry much more prominent, because the problem with Tuscan Leather is that at sometimes it turns out to be very heavy on some people who don't like leather based fragrances. So this is actually much more floral in nature. This is actually much more better compared to its successor, that is La Yuquam, in terms of quality and in terms of pricing. So pricing and quality of the fragrance is actually much more better. Maybe the bottle and the design of the fragrance for La Yuquam was much better because it was housed by Sassi, but this fragrance nonetheless has that same feature. At the same time, it is much more cheaper and easily available for the market as of now. So it is available in the Indian market. I think there was some offer on these fragrances. You can get this fragrance for as low as 800 rupees for a 30 ml decant, and for the 100 ml you can go for around 1600 to 1700 for this fragrance. For me, I personally bought this fragrance from Dubai. A friend sourced it for me from there, and ever since I've used this fragrance, I'm actually in love with this fragrance. This fragrance has that perfect balance of sweet floral, at the same time a lot of fruity notes of raspberry, and at the same time a lot of leather as well. So good leather based fragrance. If you're looking for a balanced leather based fragrance, unlike people who want strong fragrances for leather, whom I always recommend Rasasi Surah, if you want a balanced leather based fragrance, definitely go for Velvet Oud, because this has a beautiful concoction of oud, of leather, of raspberry, of floral, and as well as a lot of classiness. So this is actually a premium classic fragrance which you would try to go for if you're going for an evening date or a party sort of occasion. Super classy, makes you smell class apart, so a lot of people might actually notice you. This is the kind of fragrance which is a compliment getter, and that is what I can assure you, because being in this market, it is very difficult for people to find a well balanced leather fragrances. The thing with leather fragrances is that when leather is added to any fragrance, it turns out to make the fragrance much more stronger. At the same time, it makes it much more masculine. So if you want a masculine fragrance, at the same time not that much masculine to make it much more difficult for you people around you to breathe, definitely go for Velvet Oud. Now Velvet Oud is one of the good fragrances. The only thing it lacks is the longevity. I was expecting something much more long lasting from this fragrance, considering this is from the house of Lattafa, because Lattafa Najdiya is one of the fragrances I would use. That has to be one of the best buys for me. And with that being said, I think that Lattafa has done a decent work here. It's not bad enough. It still gives you a longevity of 6+ hours. It still gives you a projection of 2 to 3 hours. But the problem is that in winters, you get this projection. I don't expect this projection to last in the summers as well. In the summers, the projection is bound to decrease, because this is not a fresh category fragrance. This is a typical Middle Eastern leather fragrance. With that being said, this has some amount of notes of French raspberry in that, which actually adds this fragrance, brings this fragrance to the category of French fragrances as well. And overall, my experience with this fragrance was actually good. So here are my final thoughts on this fragrance. First things first, if you are very young, if you are below the age of 25, you might not like this fragrance very much. And this fragrance is essentially for people who are middle-aged, or who have crossed the bar of 25 at least. So if you have crossed the threshold of 25, maybe you start to wear these kind of fragrances. Secondly, and the most important key factor in this fragrance is that try to layer this fragrance according to the occasion. Don't go for this fragrance on a daily basis, because this won't get you compliments. This might actually work in the very wrong direction, because this fragrance is a fragrance which can only get you compliments when you are going to a party. When you're trying to smell sophisticated, then you should go for this fragrance. This was not a typical office wear fragrance like Versace Porhomme. This is not a typical office fragrance like any fresh category fragrance. This is not a fresh fragrance. I repeat again, keep that in mind before you're going to buy this fragrance. And the third and the most important key factor is, if at all you're going to layer this fragrance, try to layer it with much more warmer notes. I would recommend a fragrance that is from UCB Big Dream. Try to layer it with that fragrance and see how this turns out to be a charismatic, beautiful blend. So try to layer this fragrance as much as possible with different kind of fragrances. With that being said, these are my final thoughts on this fragrance. I hope you like the review, and do let me know in the comment section down below what other fragrances should we review from Lattafa. And we'll be reviewing a lot of Sapil as well, because a lot of people have been asking me to review Sapil fragrances, and we'll be doing that as well. With that being said, signing off, Navneet. I hope all of you have a good day ahead.